This week, Idaho joins 2 other states calling for stricter abortion pill regulations. An Idaho Guard officer remains removed from command, possibly because of his faith. New data comes out about Idahoans' views on Prop 1, plus so much more, so stick with us here. This is the Yocal Idaho Midweek Report, where we give you a quick overview of the news in Idaho for the last week. And starting with that first story we teased, Idaho, Kansas, and Missouri are leading a renewed effort to protect unborn lives, particularly by seeking stricter regulations on the abortion drug mifepristone. These states are requesting that federal courts reinstate the safeguards that were previously there, including limiting the drug's use to the first 7 weeks of pregnancy and requiring 3 in-person doctor visits for it to be approved. This move aims to address the concerning relaxation of the FDA's rules on it in recent years, which have undermined those states that are against abortion and the laws that they're trying to have on the books to protect unborn lives. The states argue that, number one, it makes it easier for mifepristone to be prescribed through telemedicine and to be sent through the mail, which compromises their ability to enforce pro-life legislation when you have something that makes it so much easier. By pushing for these regulations, these states are trying to take a stand to really protect both the unborn child and women's health, because there are side effects that come with these drugs. Challenging the notion also that at-home abortions are as safe as clinical-based procedures. This legal action represents a significant step in the ongoing effort to safeguard life and uphold state autonomy when regulating abortion, because if there's a drug that can cause abortion, but then the federal or the Supreme Court says we can rule on abortions and stuff, but this thing lets it happen without the state, circumventing that a little bit. And if you remember from back in August, an Idaho National Guard infantry officer was recently removed from command as of August after sharing conservative Christian beliefs on his personal Facebook page. The action, as you can guess, sparked some controversy, with nearly 1,000 Idahoans urging Governor Brad Little to reinstate the officer. Now, an update that we have on that for you there: while Governor Little initially stated that the situation was being handled federally, further investigation from the IFPC, or Idaho Family Policy Center, revealed he retains authority to restore the officer's command. However, and that's a wonderful word right there, however, such action could risk federal funding for state National Guard programs, which, as we know, Little loves his programs. The officer remains on paid leave pending a federal investigation, so that's where the feds get in there. But moving forward, the governor's office has yet to provide a detailed explanation for their stance on the reinstatement. The situation does highlight the development of national and now local hostility in government institutions towards people of faith, which is concerning if you know America's founding history. And speaking of numbers and information, recent research by Zodoc Research and Idaho Dispatch reveals quite a tight race for Idaho's Proposition 1, with opposition slightly ahead on it, encouraging for those that are against it. The poll shows about 45.3% against Prop 1, and 39.5% in favor, and 15.2% undecided. But adding a little bit more context to it, Prop 1 would implement a top 4 primary system, if you haven't heard of us talk about it before, and a ranked choice voting system after that fact. It is facing varying levels of support for different components. The top 4 primary is more popular than the ranked choice voting, according to the survey. Specifically, also, the survey highlights a significant partisan divide on the topic, with 74.4% of Democrats supporting Prop 1 compared to only 28.4% of Republicans. And for independents' part, they lean towards supporting it at about 50.6%. Another very notable fact is voter familiarity with Prop 1 could significantly impact the outcome about it. As Republicans have become more familiar with it, according to the survey, they tend to oppose it more. Meanwhile, as you can kind of guess by the partisan part of this, Democrats and independents show increased support as they get greater awareness about it. As we're very close to the November 5th election, the poll suggests that undecided voters and increased awareness could be crucial in determining the end fate for Prop 1. The initiative's demise may hinge on voter education efforts and turnout across party lines, which is the case with a lot of this, but it is very interesting to see how partisan it really is. And speaking of startling revelations, the Idaho Department of Lands has concluded that Idaho Power equipment likely ignited the Valley Fire, which, if you don't remember, has been raging over there in the Boise foothills since October 4th. The cause was a broken crossarm on an Idaho power pole, which allowed an energized wire to contact the ground, sparking multiple small fires. Electricity has a habit of sparking things. Despite 3 inspections earlier this year, so no lack of that noted no issues, the crossarm and support brace experienced an unknown failure. So that's something for them to look into. Idaho Power has acknowledged the report's findings, emphasizing their commitment to safety and reliability. Investigators are analyzing the evidence to determine the next step, including the potential responsibility for suppression and damage costs because of it being tied back to Idaho Power. But overall, the incident does highlight the crucial importance of rigorous infrastructure maintenance in really high fire-prone areas, and the importance of controlled burns, so even when there is a mechanical issue, there isn't enough fuel to catch fire. If you've liked the Midweek Report so far in those first 4 stories, do us a favor and hit the like button on YouTube, Rumble, or Twitter. This helps us reach more folks who love Idaho just like you. A recent community library network meeting in Pinehurst turned a little contentious as trustees grappled with the implementation of House Bill 710, everyone's favorite one, which, if you're not aware of it, is a new Idaho bill that went into law aimed at protecting minors from harmful materials. The law, which requires libraries to review and relocate objectionable content upon a request or facing fines, has sparked some heated debates about balancing intellectual freedom and child protection. Both noble things. Trustee Tim Plass proposed creating an adults-only area with strict access control, similar to what Eagle's doing, while others question the feasibility of such measures in a smaller library. I might argue it would be easier because there's less of the library to check. The meeting saw passionate public comment, with some expressing concerns about potential censorship and others supporting age restrictions, so a divide there. The heated discussion does reflect the broader impact of House Bill 710, which has prompted libraries statewide to really evaluate their collections and their policies and what they're having available for minors to look at. While the law has definitely generated some controversy, it has also sparked some, I would argue, necessary conversation about ensuring age-appropriate content in libraries, where there's going to be minors, and we need to be, as adults, conscious of what we're letting those minors see. As the debate continues, Idaho libraries are working to find a balance there between preserving intellectual freedom, which is an important part so you can learn and educate and decide on the issues, and fulfilling their responsibility to safeguarding young patrons and minors that come to the library. And speaking of something that is not young and on the other side of things, a 62-year-old grandmother from Blaine County is suing the city of Sun Valley and a police officer for allegedly violating her First Amendment rights. The incident occurred at a Pride festival in June of this year, where she expressed concern about minors being exposed to drag shows and it being so public there in Sun Valley. Digging into the details a little bit here, according to the lawsuit, officers pursued her to her home after she peacefully left the event. Body cam footage revealed troubling statements from Officer Kyle O'Brien suggesting potential bias and overreach there. The Pacific Justice Institute, representing her, argues that law enforcement should protect unpopular speakers, not intimidate them. Moving forward, while the Pride event was advertised as a family-friendly one, the case does raise some questions about free speech protections, specifically when you're getting into that realm, and the appropriate role of police in managing diverse viewpoints at public events. The lawsuit seeks damages and injunctive relief, which it will be interesting to see what the courts rule over there. And speaking of law enforcement, the Idaho Department of Corrections has updated its execution procedures following a failed attempt earlier this year, you may remember. The key change allows for the use of a central venous line if standard IV access cannot be established. Specifically, this modification comes after the halted execution of Thomas Creech in February due to IV access issues, if you remember us talking about that. The department has renovated the execution chamber to include a preparation room where medical teams can now establish either a preliminary or central line access, less likelihood of things going wrong, and to maintain transparency, a live closed-circuit video feed will allow witnesses to observe the procedure, because you need those to make sure you're not not doing something wrong. IDOC Director Josh Tewalt emphasized that these changes enhance the state's ability to carry out executions while adhering to the constitutional need for protections. In conclusion, this update aims to address the previous challenges and to assure a more effective execution process, impacting future capital punishment cases in Idaho's prison system. And speaking of a place that feels like a prison sometimes when you're a kid, the Caldwell School District is once again seeking voter approval for a $4.1 million levy. The district argues that without these funds, they'll be facing more cuts beyond those already implemented after the May's failed levy. If you remember, that also failed in the May primary. However, there are some reservations there. As you can guess, this request has raised some questions about the effectiveness of increased funding in Idaho, particularly when public schools are underperforming based on the amount of funding we're putting in them. They're one of the top things we pay for on the Idaho state budget. Despite recent increases in state education funding, Brad Little has definitely signed off on a lot of that. The district claims a need for more. However, we're not saying that education isn't important. While supporting education is vital, it is worth considering whether continued funding to a struggling system is the best approach. Perhaps competition in education could drive some more improvements and efficiency than just repeat levies where you're giving them another blank check to keep doing what they're doing. In conclusion, as voters consider this ballot measure, they should weigh the immediate needs of students against the long-term goals of creating an educational system that delivers results on financial investments. Which, if you're in Caldwell, or if any of the other stories we talked about have been relevant for yourself or someone, please don't hesitate to share them. Your shares can help us spread the word about our beautiful state. And staying over in Caldwell, it is moving forward with plans to expand an event center district, focusing on developing a sports facility near the College of Idaho, Canyon County Fairgrounds, and the Caldwell Night Rodeo, if you've been there a couple times. The project aims to encourage year-round use and improve connectivity in the area. Specifically, while costs weren't mentioned on it, the plan includes a new baseball and softball fields, potentially replacing the existing ones. The expansion is driven by community input, with over 1,000 online views and 39 comments submitted, which is actually quite impressive for a city council thing. Supporters see the sports facility as an economic catalyst, attracting tournaments and visitors to boost local businesses. The plan also considers arts and performance spaces, addressing some of the concerns from the Caldwell Fine Arts and executive director. As the city council prepares for a November hearing, officials are weighing funding resources and incremental growth to ensure the project's feasibility, and so it doesn't go over budget. And speaking about an institution that likes to spend money, the Boise State basketball team is generating quite some buzz as the team to beat in their conference for this season. For the first time ever, the sports experts have picked the Broncos as the favorite to win the Mountain West regular season title, which for any of those that are not sports people like me, it is like being voted the most likely to succeed in your high school yearbook, but for basketball teams. The leading person is Tyson Degenhart, named the preseason player of the year. Think of him as the team's MVP before the games even start there. Two of his teammates, Omara Stanley and Alvaro Cardenas, have also received special recognition. Coach Leo Rice, who's been with the team for 15 years, hopes to guide the Broncos to their fourth straight successful season, which I didn't even know about that. The team's first game is set for November 6th at home, so you can definitely go see them in person and support our local team. And speaking of local things, Idaho is known for its potatoes, but you can't have a baked potato without bacon, in my humble opinion. Bacon Boise, which is a beloved downtown eatery, highly would recommend their bacon burgers. Oh, it's so good. Is taking its famous Berry Hill bacon nationwide. particularly co-owner Gibson Berryhill and son of the founder John Berryhill, is spearheading the effort to package and distribute their restaurant's quality bacon across the country. Established in 1995, can't believe that's a long way ago now, Bacon Boise has been a local favorite for nearly 3 decades. The new packaged Berryhill bacon is fully cooked, ready to eat, and boasts a 60-day unrefrigerated shelf life. Available through e-commerce, which is a fancy word for online, and soon at local markets and pop-ups, the bacon can be enjoyed as a snack, on charcuterie boards, or in cooking, or it's bacon, so the sky's the limit there. Following a successful pitch at Boise's Entrepreneurial Weekly's Trail Mix, the company plans to expand production and seek USDA certification. The move not only showcases Idaho's culinary innovation, but also brings the taste of Boise to bacon lovers nationwide, proudly exporting a local delight to the rest of the nation. And speaking of things down there in Boise, the Idaho Supreme Court is set to rule on a contentious relocation of the Interfaith Sanctuary, a Boise homeless shelter, or the Boise homeless shelter, depending on if you've grown up here. The case brought about by the Veterans Parks Neighborhood Association against the city of Boise challenges the city council's approval of the state shelter to move to State Street. Specifically, at the heart of the dispute is whether the council had the authority to overturn the Planning and Zoning Commission's initial denial. The key issues include the interpretation of the city code regarding the mitigation of neighborhood impact and the necessity of public security plan. The $14 million project, fate kind of hangs in the balance there, with construction already underway, so a little tight there. But moving forward, the court's decision will not only determine the shelter's future, but also could set a precedent for how land use decisions are made in Boise. It'd be interesting to see where that one swings. If you want to be kept up to date on that story as it develops, or any of the other ones we've talked about in this midweek report, please make sure to subscribe and follow us so you don't miss any of our future content. And staying with things downtown, a fire broke out in the downtown Boise's historic Union Bank building. The fire happened on October 12th and is now being investigated as a possible arson. Ooh, my goodness there. The blaze, reported around 5:15 p.m., prompted a swift response from the Boise Police and the fire department, as you can guess. Firefighters quickly extinguished the source of the smoke, which was found to be coming from burning materials inside the vacant building, including old kitchen and office supplies, which, hasn't been used in a bit. The fire caused minor damage and no injuries were reported. The Union building, vacated since November of 2023 due to safety concerns, is a significant landmark in downtown Boise. If you've been by it recently, it is very pretty to look at. But moving forward, while the exact cause remains under investigation, authorities are treating the incident as a potential arson case. This event has raised concerns about the safety and preservation of historic building in Boise's downtown area, particularly if this is arson. And speaking of buildings, and this one not on fire but actually doing good things, the Idaho's Wildlife Overpass on Highway 21 north of Lucky Creek Reservoir has proven remarkably successful in its first year of operation. The overpass, which if you don't remember our original reporting because it was a long time ago, combined with an existing underpass, has effectively prevented animal and vehicle collisions on this stretch of highway since its construction. For those who don't know what exactly these structures are, or you just need a better image in your head of what I'm talking about, are designed to funnel deer and elk safely over or under the road, addressing a long-standing safety hazard where hundreds of animals are hit annually on the road by drivers, also killing drivers. Not good on both sides. The project, funded by a federal grant, not only provides protection for wildlife, but also significantly enhances motor safety. Idaho Fish and Game and the Army Corps of Engineers has collaborated to maintain lower water levels at the Morris Creek, further aiding animal crossings and hopefully decreasing the amount of run-ins. While the recent valley fire may have affected herd movements just a little bit with the amount of sagebrush and things burning there, this overpass remains crucial in balancing wildlife conservation with human safety on Idaho's roads, while prioritizing driver protection and preserving natural migration patterns. And speaking of migration, Trader Joe's is set to open its first Coeur d'Alene location before the year's end, generating quite some excitement, as you can guess, up north there in the community. The store, valued at about $2.7 million, will occupy most of the former Rugs furniture space at 303 East Spokane. While an exact date has not yet been announced, signs point to a possible November launch. The National Grocers is actively hiring, aiming to employ over 60 people with competitive wages and benefits. This new store, Trader Joe's third in Idaho, will offer its signature mix of unconventional and interesting products, which they are very well known for. The rival has also sparked enthusiasm among locals. As you can very much guess, anytime a big chain moves into Idaho that we haven't had before, it definitely gets a stir. In conclusion, as renovations near completion, the store's opening marks a significant addition to Coeur d'Alene, promising to serve the community with some definitely unique grocery offerings. And speaking of a unique story that you may not have heard about, the recent escape of 4 juveniles from the Juvenile Correction Center in St. Anthony in Idaho has been fully resolved, thankfully. The incident began on October 4th when the youth fled the facility just before 8 p.m. Particularly with the chase, 3 were quickly apprehended, but 1 remained at large, prompting a multi-agency search effort. On October 5th, at approximately about 3:30 p.m., the final escapee was located and captured by the Cascia City Sheriff's Office. The successful resolution came after a collaborative effort involving multiple law enforcement agencies, including the Fairmont County Sheriff's Office, the Idaho Department of Juvenile Corrections, Minidoka County Sheriff's Office, St. Anthony Police Department, and Idaho State Police. Officers have announced that new criminal charges are forthcoming as the investigation continues on this. But with all that said, this swift and coordinated response does highlight the effectiveness of agencies to work across, so interagency collaboration, and really solving incidences such as this. As we come to our last story, we'll close it on a sweet one here. Pocatello's beloved Amazing Glaze Donuts is expanding to Idaho Falls, with owners Dean and Katie Giesbrecht set to open their 3rd location on October 22nd. Particularly, the new shop located at 2299 East 17th Street will offer their famous potato-based donuts, ooh, now that's an Idaho classic, with nearly 50 varieties available daily. Known for its glazed rings, maple bars, and Bavarian cream-filled treats, I wonder where the Bavarian part came from, look at that last name, Amazing Glaze prides itself on handcrafted gourmet donuts made fresh each day. With the unique potato recipe, using about 200 pounds of Idaho potatoes daily, oh my goodness, sets them apart from the typical donut shops. Giesbrechts emphasize quality and customer service, aiming to brighten customers' days, which if you have something that sweet and that delicious, probably will do it. If you are interested, they are operating Tuesday through Saturday from 6 a.m., oh my goodness, that's early, to 2 p.m. Oh, they get off early then. I guess that works out. The new location will also serve cinnamon rolls and coffee, so you can get both of those at the same place. The owners are asking for patience, however, as they are adjusting to the demand in their new market. Which, speaking of something that is not new but old, I have to leave, so thank you for listening to the entire report. I sincerely hope you found it enjoyable and valuable. If you like the Midweek Report, please make sure to check out our other content. We are constantly working to produce the best Idaho content for you, the viewer. Also, if we missed any important points or provided incorrect information, please feel free to reach out to us via email or on Twitter by tweeting us at Yocal Idaho. With the small team we have, we're not able to cover everything, but we do our best to cover the most interesting and important stories. Thank you for your support. That's all for now, and I wish you a fantastic rest of your week. Godspeed.